Hi, so let's do a quick analysis for the month of November. So today is 31st of October. Whatever we are going to discuss, of all the FNO counters in an alphabetical order, starting from A to Z, and then we are going to see of which all trades we can be taking for these particular counters. As usual, please consult your financial advisor for any trading or investment related queries. And just before we start, there are a few companies which I have already discussed in one of my earlier videos posted in my channel just 5-10 minutes ago, and there you will find all the information about the weak counters and the short levels, and also the counters where a good reversal can come, and the levels have been discussed. You will find that video at the end of this video, or you can also click on the I button over here. I will link it over there. Thanks a lot for listening, and now let's do a quick start. We already discussed in the short video posted earlier that Deepak Nitrite and Naveen, Deepak Nitrite and these are actually acting more on and together with Aarti. We have already discussed it. Let's do an Abbott. Abbott is also trying to get some support. Let's see how it moves. ABFRL, these are actually not a good move, and I think 250 ke niche closing very soon aa sakti hai if there is any weakness. And going forward, we are going to be more on the negative side rather than on a positive side for ABFRL. The reason is pretty simple. जब भी support में आके इस तरह से consolidate करती है, that actually just like over here, exactly. So you can see 1000 was an interesting level जिसको खरीदना था, वो खरीद के price को ऊपर ले जाना चाहिए था. So once it's consolidating, it actually doesn't mean anything. It just means going forward, अगर कोई भी weakness in Nifty है, there can be a breakdown. So we would be tracking the levels of 275 on a closing basis. उसके ऊपर ही कुछ strength आ सकती है, else this is going to be in a box and definitely not in our radar. ACC, the good reversal has come from 2200 levels. So this is exactly the sort of structures which should be of interest to us. जब भी support में आके एक immediate follow through होती है, this is good. Let's say अगर ये 2400 के ऊपर closing देती है, Adani Enterprise as well as Adani Ports, so both of them have similar structures. ये दोनों ही important support levels पे हैं, and any breach in the sentiment can actually correct. We have already discussed Adani Port in my earlier video. Adani Enterprise is also अगर 1400 breach की, then definitely 1200 is going to come in the next is the next target which is going to come in. Alchem is also बहुत ही एक important breach level breach करके अभी ये नीचे की तरफ आ रही है. I am pretty sure 3500 will also get breached. Amraja Battery we have already discussed. Abuja Cement also, you can see there was a good reversal in the last 3-4 sessions where all the cement companies, they were giving the same sort of patterns, and going forward we are going to see if how going forward ये किस तरह से important zones, especially the levels of 425 430 is important for Abuja. APL Limited also is trying to get some support and reversal from these levels, so we have to see if it is able to hold this levels of 750. If not, there can be a further correction going forward, and we would not be interested in this one. Apollo Hospital, this is a typical bearish pattern. अगर यहाँ से अगर immediately अगर ये especially levels of 4100 breach करती है, then definitely 4000 and below levels are going to come. And on the upside, definitely, as we already discussed on this particular day, जब तक 5000 के ऊपर नहीं आएगी on a closing basis, we are not going to trade on Apollo Tyre on the long side. Definitely, you can say 4000 to 5000 is a good 1000 point with just 25%, but definitely we are momentum traders and we are not going to do and enter a falling knife. Let's see how the market moves. In general, this is more of a bearish pattern. Apollo Tyre, important level 220 that got breached and now is correcting. 200 may be coming. Ashok Leyland, this is a typical sort of is trying very hard to hold the levels of 140, but going forward अगर ये 136 breach करती है, then definitely it will correct towards the levels of 130 and 128. Asian Paint also, we talked about how 3200 is going not to be breached even on this particular day. I posted a video saying 3200 नहीं जाएगी, and the next day there was an expiry, and that's exactly what happened. Right now it's trying to get some support. The size of this candles are getting so जब तक ये 3200 के ऊपर closing नहीं देती है, there's not much. In general, I would suggest that maybe it's going to come towards the levels of 3000, and अगर वो breach on a closing basis होती है, then there can be a strong correction in Asian Paints. Astral also, I am long in Astral, मेरा 2500 का short term का target था, and then definitely on this particular day it got breached. The levels were broken, but right now it's trying to get some support. I am more waiting for levels of 2000 and trying to see if it is able to hold the levels of 2000 at least. So this is on an all-time high, so an all-time high on this particular day as well as on this particular, it was an all-time high, and now there's a correction from 2400 to 2200 and 2100, and going forward 2000 is an important zone for me to track. Atul 10,000 को breach करके, and now it's acting like a resistance, and now it has corrected, and going forward अगर 9,000 को breach करती है, then again 8,000 can be coming. AU Bank after the result, so it was trying to get some support from 1200 levels. Let's see, मुझे जिस तरह से लग रही है कि अगर 1150 के नीचे अगर closing आती है, then the levels of so 1050 can be easily come if 1150 के नीचे closing आती है. These are typical not bullish patterns. 1300 के ऊपर के closing में ही we would be it would be of interest to us. Oro Pharma is also weak. ये 700 levels को consolidate कर रही थी, and then this particular day it was very evident that it is going to breach, and that's exactly what happened. Now we have to see अगर ये 670 zone को भी breach करती है, then the levels of 600 are going to come. Axis Bank also very typical bearish structure. It doesn't matter, maybe it will again try to go towards the levels of 800, and then we have to see if it is able to give a closing above 800. In general, these structures, they have more tendency to breach and come towards the levels of 680 and 700. Bajaj Auto, we have already discussed. Bajaj Finserv also is trying to get some support from this particular level, and so it made an all-time high over here at 90,000 levels, and then again it's trying to get some support. In general, I think अगर ये 70,000 levels को breach करती है, then definitely 15,000 levels are going to come. Bajaj Finance, we have already discussed in the earlier video. Balakrishna Industry also 2400 was an important zone, but it got उसमें clear नीचे closing आने की बहुत high chances हैं, and if that happens, then theoretically it can correct towards the levels of 2250 in the short term. Bandhan Bank is also sort of weak. 300 में इसको support मिलनी चाहिए थी. It's not coming, and let's see how this actually behaves. अगर ये 300 के नीचे और भी अगर if the next candle is something like this where there is an upper wick, and then theoretically 250 levels are going to come. Bank of Baroda is also trying to get some consolidation at a 52-week high 100 levels, and this is also was a technical target for us. हमने जब इन levels पे थे तभी हमको definitely we knew that the levels of 100 are coming, and that's what exactly happened 3-4 sessions ago, and from there it's now trying to get some support. In general, अगर ये फिर 80 की तरफ आती है, then definitely the levels of 80 will also get breached, and so you should be ready with your so that should be in your radar. Bata India is also trying to consolidate. These are not good structures, and again अगर ये immediately 2100 के ऊपर अगर closing नहीं देती है, then definitely going forward there can be more correction, and then it can easily correct towards the levels of 1700 from here. BEL, you can see there was a nice dip, and the dip got bought, and basically we were waiting, so it looks quite strong. It went towards the levels of 220. Only BEL closing above 220 can give some a new hope and new life to the momentum, and then definitely we would be trading or tracking it. In general, it's a PSU, so basically you have to also understand all the risks and involved in trading on the long side in companies like BEL, say for example. Berger Paint also is looking weak. It broke the important levels of 800, and now it's again correcting towards the levels of 700. ये 700 भी breach कर सकती है, and then going forward there can be a good correction. Bharat Forge 800 is an important level, and we are just trying to see if it is able to hold this levels of 750. ये 750 और 800 के 820 के बीच में ही है. Until and unless the levels of 820 are breached on a closing basis, there is not much we can expect from this particular counter. Bharti Airtel 700 was a good breakdown which happened, and this was near 52-week high. And then again जब तक ये 740, this is what I've been saying, 730 के ऊपर जब तक closing नहीं आती, you cannot expect any move in Bharti Airtel. And of course अगर 730 के ऊपर move आती है, then going forward we can expect the levels of 760 in the short term. BHEL is also 80. After 80, it has been correcting and trying to get some support. I think it will definitely come towards the levels of 60. Going forward, you have to see अगर ये 60 level को भी अगर breach करती है, then going forward there can be more correction. We entered BHEL on this particular day जब वो 69 के ऊपर closing दी थी, because 69 was a very good resistance, and we booked our profits from the levels of 60 on this particular day जब वो 8 point something tak gayi thi, and then from there again we entered, and from in just a couple of sessions it went towards the levels of 80, and now you can see it's lingering at again 65. So it broke the important support zone, which was at 69. Going forward, we can expect a more correction towards the levels of 60. Biocon, it dipped, and now it's again at 350. Going forward, definitely अगर ये 335 levels को अगर breach करती है, then going forward there can be especially 330. Then going forward, I am waiting for the levels of 280 where I will do my SIP. And in general, जब तक ये 386 के ऊपर closing नहीं देती है, there is absolutely not a strength in Biocon. Bosch, I think very soon ये 16,000 levels को भी breach करने वाली है, and this is a very typical structure where after a big move like this you can see that there has been no carry forward of this particular momentum which was expected, and going forward I think ये 16,000 को भी breach करेगी, and we have to see how that looks. If that happens, then theoretically it can come towards the levels of 14,000. BPCL also 450 was an important zone, and it tried to move, and then on this three particular red candles with a huge body, they actually did suggest that this is a weak counter, and that's exactly what happens. And on this particular day we talked about how closing above 450 was nothing, because theoretically जब तक ये 460 के ऊपर closing नहीं देती है, there's not much of a strength, and that's exactly what happened in the next two sessions. And right now you can see on this particular day we talked about the levels of 400 coming, and that's exactly where it is now. It dipped towards 413, and it closed at 470 levels, and 400 would be a good levels to watch. Britannia also we have discussed in the earlier video. Birlasoft is between levels of 400 and 450. We have to wait for a breakdown or a breakout of these levels, and then only we can actually take the discussion further. Cadila also, after this good move, this was just we knew that it's going to go towards the levels of 500 when it was trading, and then it came towards 500, gave a closing, and now it's trying to reverse. But going forward, I think the levels of 500 would be breached, and if that happens, then the levels of 450 is coming. Canara Bank gave a very strong move and correct closing on a closing basis, and 220 was our target, which we were discussing when it was lingering at on these particular days. And first our target was 195, which was done on this particular day, and then on again we were looking for the targets of 220, and it came towards 218. I think 220, 222 is a very strong resistance for Canara Bank. Going forward, there can be a further correction if the levels of 200 are breached. Canfin Home we have already discussed. Chambal Fertilizer also a good move, 400, and then a breakdown came, and now again is trying to get some support. These are typical bearish moves, though it may look good. अगर ये 335 के नीचे अगर closing देती है, then definitely 300 is going to come, which is like a 10% good trade. Cholafin is going to post this result, and we have to see how it reacts on Monday. In general, Cholafin, we knew Cholafin would be making an all-time high, and that's exactly what it did. It's has been facing a resistance at this 330 335 levels for multiple times, and let's see how it actually moves past it. अगर market में कोई strength होती है और अगर ये result based move नहीं होती, then definitely this is a very good candidate for a breakout tracker on the long side. Or in general 550 560 has been acting like a good support. अगर ये breach होती है, then definitely it is going to be bad news for the bulls. Cipla also 900 के ऊपर it has been lingering on 900, and then it went towards 920 after the result. I was even surprised. The good thing is the market came to its senses, and then it gave a closing below 900 on this particular day, and theoretically this looks also as a weak counter. Going forward, there can be a huge correction towards the levels of 800, and then we would be actually be tracking. So these are all weak counters. Coal India we have already discussed. Coforge, this is something of a weak structure structure, but the thing is since there is a lot of positive sentiment, so we have to see agar ye if it is able to at least give us a closing above the levels of 5300 from here. And right now if that happens, then theoretically again it can go towards the levels of 5800, 5900, 5850 levels, and so this would again be a good reversal candidate which we are going to track. Coalpal 1700 se correct okay on this particular day, and especially when this particular support was broken. So from there we knew 1500 was coming, and that's exactly where it entered on the last session. So we were able to carry a trade, carry shots from 1650 levels to 1500. This was a good move of 10% on the short side. Going forward, agar ye 1500 ko bhi breach karti hai, then we would be initiating more shots, but right now it seems like it will try to go towards 1600, and let's see if it is able to give a closing above 1600. The next company is Concord 650 was an important level, and so right now it seems like it's trying to get some support. Let's see agar ye fir especially agar ye 640 levels ko agar breach karti hai, then going forward 600 is going to come. Coromandel is also, it has been lingering on this particular support zone. Let's see how it comes, because until and unless ये 850 के ऊपर अच्छे से closing देती है, there's nothing much we can expect more in a Coromandel on the long side. Crompton is also in a box between 450 and 500. Let's see which way it breaks. CUB typical bearish structure going forward. ये फिर 180 की तरफ जाने की कोशिश करेगा, and 180 was a very good technical target. We were talking on these particular days how 169 is going to come very soon, and then from there it went towards 175, and from there it corrected and took a support at 169, which was the previous resistance, acted like a support, and from there it went towards 180, and now it's again trying to get some support from 169. But I think going forward it can be a breakdown, and agar 160 ke niche closing आई, it will correct automatically towards 145 levels. Cummins we have already discussed. Dabur also is nothing much. जब तक ये 620 के ऊपर closing नहीं आती, there's not much. Dalmia Bharat also, this is a typical bearish structure. Any closing below the levels of 1960 can actually bring it towards the levels of 1800. So Deepak Nitrate we have already discussed in the earlier video. You will find that video in the upper right hand corner. Delta Corp also is more like in a box. Let's see 250 breach hoti hai ya 300. DV is also trying to hold the levels of 500, but going forward you can see that there is upper wicks which are going to come, and agar ye 5000 ke niche closing deti hai, then that would actually be a bad news for the bulls. Dixon is nothing much. It's just trying, these are typical bearish structures. Kuch bhi agar breakdown hui in levels say, so definitely it will come towards the levels of 4000. DLF also 400 levels, and especially agar 370 which is going to act like a support. Let's see how it reacts near 370 levels. Dr. Reddy we have already discussed. Aisha we have already discussed. Escorts has made an all-time high 115.88. Going forward this was expected, and we were in Escorts and have been talking about Escorts. This seems like a good sort of breakout. Let's see if it is able to hold it, because we have to see how the market reacts on the result. In general 1500 breach hui, then the levels of 1420 is going to act like 1440 say 1420. We have traded a lot of times, and I have discussed this particular trade multiple times in my videos, so you already know the levels if you have been following my videos over the last few weeks. Exide had a strong resistance at 180, and now it's at 150. We have already discussed Exide in my earlier video. Federal Bank also, agar ye koi bhi agar 93 levels ko agar breach karti hai, it can automatically correct more towards the levels of 80. Mfsl also is more in a box between 195 and 220. Let's see which way it breaks out. GAIL we have already discussed. Glenmark also typical bearish structures. So after a good correction, whenever you see something like this, always remember this is a short covering. The people are covering their shorts, and hence you can see that there was no follow up, and now you can see agar ye 500 ke niche jati hai, it can automatically correct. Especially agar 490 ke niche agar jati hai, then definitely it will correct towards the levels of 450. GMR Infra also, you can see it's just trying to get some support at 40. If the levels of 38, I think it was on this particular day exactly, 38 get breached, then definitely it can correct towards the levels of 32. Godrej Consumer Product also, you can see 1000 is acting like a good sort of resistance, and going forward it can automatically correct towards the levels of 900. Godrej Properties we have already discussed in the earlier, and so we have discussed granules have also been discussed in my earlier video. Grasim is more in a box. So going forward, agar ye especially this 1700 get breached, then even 1600 will get breached. And GSPL we have already discussed in an earlier video. Gujarat Gas, it seems like it has been able to give a good move, and I think going forward हम देखेंगे गुजरात गैस में किस तरह से बाइंग आती है. It should going forward मेरी यही strategy होगी गुजरात गैस में. There will be two small candles at this particular top, and then we have to see if it dips towards the levels of 600, or agar ye nahi hui, and if there is an immediate reversal on Monday, then theoretically we can expect the levels of 550. Hell, this made a very good all-time high on this particular day, and then we said 1400 is an important zone, and you can see 1400 breach. Okay, it even breached 1300. So from 1400 we were talking about how this is going to even breach 1300, and that's exactly what it did. It went towards the levels of 1250. Now it's trying to get some support. Let's see जब तक ये 1300 के ऊपर, स्पेशली 1320 के ऊपर अगर क्लोजिंग नहीं देती है, there's not much, and स्पेशली जब तक 1400 तक नहीं आती है, then basically you can expect more weakness to be here. Havels, we talked about Havels, and you can see this level of 1380 is going to act like a resistance now, and this is exactly what has happened. From 1380 it corrected towards 1200 levels, and going forward it is again going for 1200 levels for some support. SCL Tech we have already discussed. HDFC also is the same thing. ये जो structures होती हैं, these are very weak structures. You can see small candles at all-time highs, and going forward this is now dipping towards 2800. अगर 2800 breach होती है, then 2600 can easily come. HDFC MC we have already discussed. HDFC Bank also we discussed. HDFC Life also we discussed in the earlier video. You will get it in the upper right hand corner or at the end of this video. I button को click करने से आपको वो वीडियो मिल जाएगी which are actually weak stocks, and we have discussed all the levels. And also Hero MotoCorp we discussed, Hindalco we discussed on those videos. Hind Petro also we can see these are very typical bearish moves. Whenever it's trying to move up, it is absolutely followed by a strong red candle. Going forward हमें देखना है कि अगर ये 300 levels को भी अगर hold कर पाई. So our earlier target when we discussed on these particular days when it was lingering at 280 was 333, and basically it went towards 340. Right, so we actually don't take book our profits on this particular day, and then we were waiting for a reversal from 300. Now let's see अगर 300 के नीचे, and especially अगर 290 के नीचे अगर closing आए, then there can be again a huge correction towards the levels of 260 and 250 in the near to medium term. Hindustan Unilever we have already discussed. India Bull Housing Finance is also weak, trying to get some support, but these are absolutely all weak counters. Also ICICI Bank is trying to get some support. The good thing is, even with so much of weakness, it still has been able to maintain this gap, which actually showcases that there is a strength in ICICI Bank. Going forward, अगर ये हमारा strategy बहुत simple है कि जब भी ये निफ्टी में कोई रिवर्सल आएगी, वी वुड बी ट्रैकिंग ऑल ICICI बैंक डेफिनेटली, एंड वी वुड बी सीइंग अगर ये कुछ कंट्रीब्यूट कर रही है उन दिनों, अगर कर रही है, then definitely it seems like definitely the levels of 900 should be coming in the near vicinity. ICICI GI is we have already discussed in the earlier video together with HDFC Life, SBI Life, and ICICI Prudential Life Insurance. All of them we discussed. Idea B is nothing much. It's just trying to be in a box between the levels of 8 and 12, and there's not much of a trading opportunity. IDFC First Bank also dipped, and now is trying to get some support. So you can see this breakout happened and immediately reversed, and then again. So basically it's going forward. अगर ये important zone जो 47 का है, अगर इसके नीचे closing आती है, then it can automatically correct towards the levels of 44 and 42. IEX is also trying to so IEX when on this particular day we exactly talked about the levels of 600. You can see this video which was posted on the night of 22nd, and from there we talked about the levels of 600. It came towards 640. and going forward अगर ये 640 620 को अगर होल्ड नहीं कर पाती है, then definitely 600 and below correction is going to come, especially till the levels of 560 or 566 570 is going to come. And going forward, it seems like until and unless it gives a strong closing above 800, there is not much to be expected in IEX. No matter how these structures look like, there is buying coming in. There will always be people who would be actually shorting or booking their profits. In general 800 के ऊपर closing में ही इसकी strength आएगी, and we have to see if that happens, then we would be judging our trading. Going forward, 840 would be so that 840 level was mentioned on this particular day, where I told about how 840 and 850 would be interesting zone, and that's exactly happened on this particular day. So and then since then it has not been able to breach that level. 840 के ऊपर इसकी नई जान आएगी, and then it will take us to 1000, which is my short to medium term target. It was a short term target, but when this breakdown of 800 happened, then it became a medium term target. That 1000 should be coming. IGL also is trying to get some support at 450, but these are nothing after a huge amount of a down move, so there is not much guarantee going forward. Agar 450 bhi breach hoti hai, there can be more correction. Indian Hotel is also trying to get some support from 200 levels, but these are typical weak structures. Agar immediately ye 213 215 ke upar agar nahi jati hai, there can be more correction, and then it can automatically even break the earlier support at 180, and agar 180 bhi breach hoti hai, then 150 is definitely coming. India Cement, unfortunately India Cement is a very weak counter, and though all the cement companies, we saw Icici and other cement companies which we are going to see see just like JK Cement over here. So India Cement was not able to give us a move, and going forward this can actually be painful for the bulls. And going forward agar ye 180 190 levels ko agar breach karti hai, this is a very typical bearish structure, very good short candidate, because you can have 210 as your so right now it's trading at 206, so you can easily so normally traders, they will always keep 210 12 as the stop loss, and they are going to short this candidate. And of course 200 ke niche jaise aayegi, there will be more shorts which will get added, and so this can easily correct towards the levels of 170 over here, and let's see if that happens. India Mart also, we have discussed how India Mart is going to breach 8,000, and this is what happened, and from there we talked about 7,000, and this is also what happened. And now going forward ye just consolidated karegi for 2 days, and if it's unable to move past the levels of 70 900, so basically this is going to act like a strong resistance, and going forward it can even correct towards the levels of 6,000. Indigo, it gave a good move, and let's see agar ye 2200 ke upar agar move karti hai, this is the all time highs, and so even after so this is why this is interesting, and why this is similar to Icici Bank is these counters are at all time highs, and still there's a buying interest. And whenever the correction is coming from 220 levels to 2000 levels, though it's a 10% correction, but still it's able to consolidate, and it's not shifting downwards. See, this is what is known as shifting downwards, right? Compared to if you see this particular structure, it's just in a box. So 2200 के ऊपर अच्छी मूव आ सकती है on a closing basis. Ldtsb Bank is also at all time high, but 1100 and 1200 is this is more of a box trade. Ldtsb Tower, you can see it's shifting downwards, and going forward if this levels get breached, then 250 can be coming. Mfsl, we have already discussed in the earlier video. IOC again is trying to hold the 52-week levels. So let's see. In general, you can only be interested when it's able to give a closing above the levels of 133. So jab tak wo nahi aati hai, there's not much we can expect in IOC, and maybe going forward you can see a lot of structures like this, where whenever it will try to move up, there will be a lot of profit booking happening. Polycab also, 200 2000 2200 levels of breach key. We talked about this 200, so right now it's trying to again enter the club of 2200 on a closing basis. Then only there is some sort of strength in Polycab, else 2000 levels are going to come very soon. IRCTC, this is one of the most talked about stock of the town. So in general, my view of IRCTC, I've already posted a video of IRCTC and I've already discussed the levels. So we already traded the levels on last Monday, and we were able to make a very quick 9% on in a matter of just 5 minutes. So of course we didn't knew when we traded about the reversement of the earlier policy, but going forward I think it is going to be trading between the levels of, so from a level perspective, IRCTC, I have already discussed the levels, but in short I can say for IRCTC, definitely 1000 is definitely a very strong resistance. And going forward, अगर ये 1000 के ऊपर भी अगर closing देती है, then that would be awesome. But I think going forward it is going to hover between 950 and 800. ये एक बहुत एक important crucial consolidation की zone होगी, and we have to see if it is able to at least hold the levels of 800, which is very important right now. अगर वो 800 को भी hold नहीं कर पाती है, then going forward there can be more selling pressure. So we have to see how IRCTC works. ITC also, you can see it's more in a we have already discussed ITC in my earlier video. Just go and have a look. 400 is important support for Jindal Steel. Any move below 400 and 390 can again take it towards the levels of 350. JK Cement is also 2400 is a strong resistance, and 3400 is a strong resistance, and 3000 is a support. जब तक इसके ऊपर कोई अच्छी definitive closing nahi aati hai, we wouldn't be interested. In general, you can see whenever it tries to go towards 3400, all these upper wicks they keep on coming, which means profit bookings are happening. But I think from here at least 3400 should be easily achievable, and we have to see agar 3400 के ऊपर ये कैसी BF करती है. JSW Steel is also 700 के ऊपर एक अच्छी breakout देने की कोशिश की, but then it failed, and now going forward it's we talked about 650 levels, it dipped towards 653. And going forward अगर ये 650 को breach करती है, then the 600 is going to come in. Jubilant Food also, very typical bearish structure was formed, and now it's trying to consolidate. In general, 3500 should be achievable, and this is what we have been talking when it gave a particular breakdown below the 4250 levels. And so it has been a huge correction for Jubilant Food. 4000 के ऊपर closing में ही we would be tracking it, and that would be very well be interesting. And definitely 4300 के ऊपर जब ये move करेगी, we would be adding aggressively for a momentum trade. Kotak Bank made an all-time high at 2200. This was a target which we discussed earlier. This was a technical target, and that was achieved. And from there it has just in a matter of 2 sessions it has come towards the levels of 2000. So you can see from a structural perspective, Icici Bank seems much more of a strength compared to Kotak, and let's see if it is able to hold the levels of 2000. L&T Housing Finance, also a typical bearish structure. When it broke the levels of 90, we talked about 80, and in the last session it went towards 81 where we closed our shorts. Going forward, agar ye 80 ko bhi breach karti hai, there can be more downfall. Lal Path Lab also is typical bearish structure. अगर ये 3400 के नीचे ट्रेड करना स्टार्ट करती है, then 3000 is going to come in. Laurus Lab is also bearish, is trying to get some support at 500, but in general until and unless the levels of 580 or 600 is not breached, there is absolutely not much to be expected from Laurus. LIC Finance Housing also on this particular day, when it were breached and closed below the levels of 450, we talked about the levels of 400. It just came in a matter of 3-4 sessions, and then going forward agar 400 be breach hoti hai, there can be more correction. L&T is also interesting in the sense 18,000 was a strong resistance. It tried to give a breakout, and now this is qualifying as a failed breakout. Going forward ये फिर से जब निफ्टी में स्ट्रेंथ आएगी ये 1800 के लेवल्स पे जाएगी, and then we have to see if it is able to give a closing above that. अगर वो नहीं हुई, then definitely 17,000 will also get broken, and it can correct towards the levels of 1650. LTI, this is also not very strong, and these are bearish structures. 7000 के ऊपर के closing वो would be a very crucial one, which will again be an all-time high closing. But the good thing is you see this gap up was formed, and on this particular day it dipped towards 620 200, and the gap up was formed, was actually filled, and now it's trying to move. ये 6200 levels को अगर especially अगर 6250 levels के नीचे अगर आ गई, so definitely it can correct more towards 66,000 and then 5800 levels. Ldtsb on this particular day, we talked about how this is going to be in a bearish mode, and that's exactly what happened. The good thing, however, is 4500 has acted like a support, and it got a support. Going forward, अगर ये 4500 के नीचे अगर क्लोजिंग दे दिया, then go especially 4450 4400 के नीचे अगर इस तरह से ट्रेड करने स्टार्ट करती है, then going forward the levels of 4000 are going to come. Lupin also, we talked about on this particular day where 900 is going to come, and that's exactly what happened over here. So 950 is like a strong resistance. In general हम lupin में 1000 के ऊपर ही अपना positions बनाएंगे. M&M, this candle actually ruined the whole structure. You can see there was a good up move, small red candle, and then this particular candle actually showcased that this is not going to go above 960, and on this particular day, and from there you can see it has been shifting downwards, and it has been unable to close above 900 levels. In general अगर ये 870 880 के नीचे अगर closing देती है, अब की closing 884 है at least, so 880 के नीचे closing देती है, then 800 levels are going to come in. M&M Finance we have already discussed. Manappuram also 220 is a strong resistance. Going forward is trying to get some support from 200, but any closing below the levels of 195 can again drive it towards 180 and below. Marico also is some more in a box, so it's made an all-time high of 600, and now it's trying to get some support. These are in general very good reversal candidates for momentum trading. With any strength in Nifty, Marico would be the next company after Icici Bank, which I would be tracking for some strength. Maruti came out with some news, and going forward 7000 would be an interest, especially 7100 on this particular day would be an interesting level. Agar 7000 ke niche closing aati hai, then there can be a huge sort of downfall. In general 7500 seems like a very strong resistance. Multiple times on this particular day when it broke, we talked about how this is not good for news for the bulls, because 7500 was a very interesting target, interesting support, and then eventually it's trying to consolidate. Now we have to see how it reacts on Monday. In general I would say 7000 may turn out to be sort of a weak support, and maybe 6800 would be a good support. So अगर ये 7000 में आए, and if it is until and unless ये 7100 के ऊपर जब तक नहीं जाती है on a closing basis, there's not much you can expect from the levels of 7000. McDowell very strong move, so a 900 के ऊपर अच्छी move दी है. It made a 52-week high, all-time high, and going forward there is a lot of buying interest, but in general these structures they have a tendency of breaking down very easily, and अगर ये 900 के नीचे closing देती है, and especially अगर 880 levels को अगर hold नहीं कर पाती है, it can automatically correct towards 800. So we are more interested on these particular stocks, because in general in this kind of market scenario, see, the thing is, if you have been following me for weeks or months on my daily videos, you do know how I am actually biggest advocate for momentum trading with strong closings. In general the market is not rewarding this lately, and as a result of which you have to be skeptical of all these strong moves which come on a closing basis. M6 also, but again अगर ये फिर अगर अच्छी opening दी कल से, right now is at 950 levels, अगर ये 960 में opening दी, and if it's able to hold, then maybe 1000 would be a really good sort of psychological resistance as well as a technical target for it. So we have to just see how it moves from here. MCX also, it has been facing resistance at 2000. On this particular day we talked about 1500, so right now it's actually trying to get some support from 1600 levels. Going forward 1500 can act like a strong support, and Metropolis also is facing a resistance at 3000, and going forward these are typical bearish structures. Any move below the levels of 2850 would actually be detrimental, and it can actually even break and correct more towards 2650 levels. Mfsl also, this is actually a weak counter, and on this particular day we talked about how important it was. Levels of 1000 were broken on a support basis, and from then onwards it's not been able to move. For me to even consider it for longs, it has to breach the levels of 1020 and 10,000 at least to skew per 1020 is a strong resistance. Jab tak iske upar closing nahi aati hai, there's not much we can expect from Mfsl. MGL may look like it's trying to get some support at 1000 levels, and there's some reversal which can come in, but in general these are not good signs, and any move below the levels of 960 can drive it towards the levels of 900. I'm going to stop my video over here, and I'm going to post it for the second half.